Well, hey there, all you little gospel space cadets. You know, everything we teach or spout about God on Facebook should be to engender faith in people, which is trust, expressing itself in love. In Galatians 5:6, Paul said that's the only thing that counts. So what does faith look like? Well, it's not getting worked up in a froth. It actually believes Jesus pulled something off and we can take a break. Over and over, we've been like a broken record throughout the years saying that the flavor of faith is rest. Faith is the big Shabbat, my friend. It says you are in. But let me tell you that a number one indicator of true faith is joy and a sense of lightness in life. You're not losing any hair or sleep over your problems or devils or darkness or Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump. You know Jesus has sorted out the end from the beginning. He sits in heaven and laughs, the psalmist says. So you can have a little chuckle yourself over the ridiculousness and idiocy that planet Earth has to offer, yet choose to engage in it and enjoy life. Martin Luther said, "You have as much laughter as you have faith." You see, this whole thing that we call reality is really pointing us to the party of the ages, the feast of the Lamb. And if you have eyes to see it, you don't take your little befuddled earthly existence too seriously, you know this whole shebang is going to transcend into a symphony of song and color, something you could never afford or orchestrate with your own greasy little paws. And since that party has already started right here, right now, from the very foundation of the world, we are engrafted right into it in this material world, and faith sees that and gets you grinning from ear to ear. So, look, what place does sadness have in the Christian life? What place does penitence, that Latin word borrowed from our Catholic brothers, the paying of our own sins and mourning and remorse over the darkness that never was from his perspective, what does that have to do with Christianity? You know, it is the Lenten season right now, and some of you may be wanting to gain a few extra points by giving up some red meat, carbohydrates, or God forbid your red wine. But for the first time here ever on the Jesus trip, I would like to call a 40-day fast. Why don't you fast something that actually has a little significance? God could care less about your birthday cake pop from Starbucks. How about we have 40 days of fasting frowns, 40 days of fasting depression? If you're happy, you don't need to give up anything. The whole point of fasting is for the insecure, unbelieving, self-deprecating people who need to beat themselves up because they can't trust God for their own spirituality. That's why Jesus says, "Do happy men fast?" Remember when he tells the fasting crowd to wipe the scowl off of their face? I mean, how about we cheer up and realize that doubts and darkness and gloomy, melancholy thoughts are not the frequency of faith. We've spent ages talking about the finished work, the inclusion of humanity in the last Adam, your freedom from that old nature, even the fact that faith is not something you self-generate, it's a gift. And that's the very thing that takes our navel-gazing eyes off of our own inward religious straining and allows us to trust in Jesus, the author and finisher of that faith. For me, you see, all of this, every bit of this teaching has always been about joy. The work of all theology should be to enhance our joy in God. Karl Barth, the great theologian, he said, "Theologians who labor without joy, they are no theologian at all." He said, "Sulky faces, morose thoughts, and boring ways of speaking are intolerable in this field." Faith is not this shriveled, sad look of attrition or gazing down your self-righteous nose or fearfully pulling away from the world to the stagnant homeschool co-op, baking your own bread in fear of the leaven of the sinners all around you, only letting your kids watch Little House on the Prairie and shunning the masses who are laughing their way down the highway to hell while you cry over it all, you pious soul. Look, just Relax, for God's sakes. Everything's going to be okay. You may have actually picked up the wrong spirit along the way. Luther also said this. He said, sadness is an instrument of the devil whereby he gets much accomplished. He said, sadness is hereditary to us, and the devil is the spirit of sadness, but God is the spirit of joy who saves us. He is pure, raw, unadulterated, inexplicable joy. Why do so many people who were apparently of the faith seem dry as a camel's knuckle? I mean, wipe that dismal look off your countenance. Stop misrepresenting Christ. Call that depressed hogwash good news. Come on. If you're happy, let your face know it every now and then. So look, just as we try to, save ourselves by drumming up faith, so is the church also known for drumming up its artificial smiles. We're so do this, do that, so do oriented, that we've pawned off joy as something we have to pull off, something we have to do, and we wonder why it seems so inauthentic and unreal and unnatural to everybody. I mean, rejoicing is just something else to do as just part of compartmentalization in our Christian walk. I mean, for instance, especially since the Toronto renewal and the charismatic camps, they understand, joy is allowed, a little bit of wine is allowed, but it's still so utilitarian, so purpose-driven. I mean, a means to some other ends. It's like cheer up the troops so that they'll evangelize harder. That'll make for a good meeting here and there. But no one goes to churches for fun. Fun's not the point. Yes, joy should be part of our spiritual walk. We accept that because of what happened in Toronto. So, look, we can get drunk in the Spirit too. There's that part of our ministry taken care of. We have the joy of the Lord. Now let's move on. Now let's have this manic pendulum swing to the other side where we're pressing in and getting serious and contending. Now we are forgetting Jesus's role and pretending to have a part to play in this whole salvific process. We should maybe sober up. Look, where is the seamless, cohesive, just permeating joy of life where you don't have to flip this inner switch and think joy is in this utilitarian compartment over here, and you realize that it's not just this practical work that's inauthentic, where occasionally you might roll around drunk on the floor in a revival meeting, but then you're just an ass most of the other time in your life. This utilitarian view of joy, where joy becomes a means to some other end, it is quite clear, really in a funny story that was related to me by a missionary guy who was, really into bringing renewal into China. And, the Chinese church, by and large, it's a very practical, methodical type of culture. And a lot of these guys love to religiously beat themselves up. And so the only way that they could sell joy to these guys was to push it for its practical health benefits, like its medicinal spiritual purpose. Because, they love their medicines and potions over there. So they tell them a merry heart's like a medicine. And then once everybody has a logical reason for being happy, then they have no problem rolling around on the floor, laughing their heads off. And then on cue, they all will just start laughing together, all of them acting drunk corporately because it's corporately accepted. And then 5 minutes later in the service, they flip a switch, and then all of a sudden, they're corporately weeping again and gnashing their teeth again and begging God to reaccomplish what He's already done. Talk about compartmentalization and talk about not getting the point here. It's like people can't just relax and chill. Joy is an authentic, non-counterfeitable, non-replicable, that's not even a word, result of giving up and trusting Jesus. Faith is not utilitarian. You can't generate it. You can't process this thing. You can't generate the fruit of faith, which is joy. And you all you could do is look to Him. Hear the good news of what He's done. Stay in that good news, because faith comes by hearing, and we're so quick to pull away and forget it all. And so we drink this in continually. You've got to see that your victory has taken place, okay? That is when genuine laughter, genuine happiness begins to pervade you and your entire natural life, and this ship's going to keep running even if you take your hand off the wheel. Soren Kierkegaard, I'm sure a lot of you have read him, he said the Christian humorist is like a plant, only the roots of which are visible, whose flower unfolds for a loftier sun. So many people, they can't laugh because they only see the lower things, the trials, the tribulations, the difficulties of the life in this world. They only see the roots of the tree, and they can't laugh at life's ironies and look beyond it to see that distant shore where the thing blossoms in the light of a greater glory. In Psalm 126, when the captives had seen their victory, their redemption, their mouths were filled with laughter. Everything in this gospel is aimed at this. For Jesus, joy was not just some utilitarian tool for some other purpose to inspire people or to help them be more obedient or whatever. No, joy was the purpose. The party is the end of ends. All his earthly ministry was summed up in this when he said, I've told you all these things so that your joy may be complete. So come on, guys, let's cheer up. You are an Isaac generation, a ha-ha generation, silver spoon in your mouth, trust fund, baby, child of inheritance that you did not lift a finger to earn on your own. Charles Spurgeon, he said something really cool about Psalm 126 here. He said, we become Isaacs, for he was the child of laughter. We laughed as Abraham did, for very joy of faith. Sometimes laughter may become the holiest possible expression. It may be one of the meanest utterances of our nature, but it may also be one of the loftiest. These people not only laughed but their mouth was filled with laughter. They could not laugh loudly enough. There was no expression of articulate speech that sufficed them at all. Then was our mouth filled with laughter. All right, look, so guys, be happy, enjoy it. I hope you just have such a gluttonous time on this glorious gospel this week. I hope you just vomit with all the laughter. And I love you guys so much that I have a freebie for every single one of you. We have finally cranked out the latest edition of the Ecstatic Magazine. We have put it online in a digital format so it's free for everybody. We have stories from the mission field, our last trip to Indonesia. We talk about the opportunity for you to join us again next November. We're going to go back to Indonesia and the Philippines. Read the whole thing online at thenewmystics.com/ecstatic. I've also got a full-length feature excerpt in the magazine from my upcoming new book, Money, Sex, Beer, God. Many of you have already pre-ordered the book. I'm signing all the pre-orders with my own dainty little hand, and this thing is finally about to hit the presses soon. If you've been on the edge of your seat, it's coming out this spring. Find this and all of our other books, along with links to full-length audio teachings, downloads you won't find anywhere else online, at our home store, johncrowder.net. Whatever you do, also, if you're in California, don't miss our Northern California Mystical School. It's coming to the Redding, Chico area April 1st through the 3rd. These things pack out. It is not too early to register. We've got discount rates for all ministry school students, and I'm in the Northwest in Vancouver, British Columbia in May for our only Canadian event for 2016. So lock in your spot for that one. And my only mystical school in Europe for the bulk of the year is going to be in Scandinavia. I have one coming to Stockholm, Sweden. You're going to have meatballs on the house and everything. First time in Sweden we've ever done this. It's August 12th through the 14th. And the only school in the South will be in Tampa, Florida this summer. So come make a vacation out of it. Hit Disney, get hammered drunk, and buy a Mickey Mouse wind spinner or something. That's July 29th through the 31st. And unfortunately, I left my keys in Manitowoc County, Wisconsin. So I decided to have a mystical school there. If you're just thinking which bizarre event of Crowder's I should attend, come to this one just for the entertainment value next September. You can binge watch me. Now, those are just the mystical schools. Find these and more at thenewmystics.com/schools. But we also have our Gospel Mania East Coast and West Coast tours with Tim Wright leading worship. Now, these are a little different from the schools. These are wild times of Holy Ghost frenzy, just crazy miracles. So check out this promo of the first leg that's coming to the West Coast in April.
When April comes, I'm taking Tim, we're rolling to the West Coast. October time, we'll do it again, we're coming to the East Coast. Got an airsoft, it won't plug you, but if you show up, I might hug you. I ain't taking names, I ain't offering them, I'm just taking up an offering. When April comes, I'm taking Tim, we're rolling to the West Coast. October time, we'll do it again, we're coming to the East Coast. If you're a religious snitch, Holy Ghost gonna make you twitch. Tim Wright's gonna play guitar, he won't be blowing shofars. West Coast, Gospel Mania, April 2016, SoCal, Phoenix, Colorado Springs, Portland, Oregon. East Coast, Gospel Mania, October 2016, Massachusetts, Nashville, Pennsylvania, Chirac, Chicago.